There are only two genders.
Two sexes, maybe.
Three with intersex.
But an infinite amount of genders.
I think you mean an infinite amount of variation between two genders.
Gender isn't a spectrum, it's a constellation of expressions.
No, you're either a man, a woman, or something in between.
Then we're all something in between.
Women don't wear makeup and heels because they're women, but because they're trying to live up to society's definition of a woman.
They do that for the same reason that men play sports and work out. They're trying to hack people's innate attraction to masculine and feminine traits. Those gender stereotypes don't mean anything. They were created arbitrarily by our society.
Nothing is created arbitrarily. Those traits reflect biomarkers that humans recognize as valuable.
If conforming was that valuable, we wouldn't have feminists trying to expand their gender roles.
You can expand your gender roles, but your sex still statistically predicts your interests and temperament.
But don't the feminine men and masculine women who don't fit into that narrative deserve a gender identity that authentically represents them?
Nobody is authentically represented by their gender.
It's just a tool for other people to know how to interact with you.
But those tools are failing non-binary people.
Just look at how many cisgendered men and women are suffering from toxic masculinity and femininity because they're trying to suppress every unmanly or unwomanly trait they have.
But we can't let everyone just create their own gender based on how they feel.
Why not? New genders could give us context to know a person more deeply when we first meet them.
I am a white, trans-masculine, non-binary, temporarily mostly able-bodied, neurodivergent, obsessive-compulsive, chronically ill, culturally Jewish, Unitarian Universalist, non-monogamous, demi-low romantic, gray demi-bisexual, survivor of acute and complex trauma, millennial, and cat parent in mental health recovery. I just wanted to know your name.
You see, people simplify themselves in public for a reason. When you're sick, you just want a doctor that acts, looks, and speaks like a doctor.
If you can accept doctor as an identity, then you should be able to accept non-binary.
But doctor is an identity that people know how to use.
Calling yourself non-binary is describing yourself with a negative. You can't be the absence of something.
Trans culture is trying to create new terminology, but people can't get past simple pronouns.
We've been using only two sets of gender pronouns for thousands of years, and suddenly we're expected to understand Z, C, E, V, they, E, qui, yo,
Tons
P,
of cultures
Q.
across history had gender-neutral pronouns.
But the public needs to know more about the people these pronouns refer to before they can ever want to use them.
Especially if using it wrong gets weaponized against their reputation.
Who cares about their reputation?
Trans people are being withheld jobs, medical care, housing, education, police protection.
They're being ridiculed and abused.
And now anti-trans legislation is keeping trans people from appearing in books and performing drag shows.
But isn't drag just blackface for women?
First of all, there's drag queens and kings. And no, blackface is done to ridicule someone you aren't. Drag is done to be more of someone you are.
Plus, drag queens aren't trying to be like women. They're trying to be like drag queens. It's a culture in and of itself.
But if the black community wouldn't accept a white person who identifies as black, why would women accept a trans woman who identifies as a woman?
You can't deny that the female body, with its ability to give birth and menstruate, provides a unique experience for women.
But trans women still embody the core principles of what it means to be a woman.
What exactly are those core principles?
It's a feeling, a knowing that you're a woman.
The fact that trans women reduce womanhood to a feeling and some cosmetic parts is indicative of the same patriarchal ideas that feminists are trying to overturn.
Women have different experiences from each other too. Why use differences to divide feminine kind when the feminist movement is stronger together?
So a woman should just feel comfortable when a trans woman enters their restroom.
A trans woman might be assaulted if they use the men's restroom.
But then a man can just pretend to be a trans woman and then assault women in the women's restroom.
Trans women shouldn't have to pay a price for the existence of predatory men.
The bathroom is for biological functions. You should just go to the bathroom that matches the genitalia you possess.
And it's not just bathrooms, it's prisons and sports. What's the big deal? Some women are taller and stronger than others.
The ones that are taller and stronger are winning due to male genetics that biological women can't overcome.
And without these older female role models, more and more young girls are transitioning to avoid becoming old women.
They're transitioning because their gender dysphoria is making them suicidal.
Because children are using transgender ideology to explain the natural confusion that surrounds their body during puberty.
And doctors are being pressured to consent to their requests for hormone blockers and surgery.
But gender-affirming care doesn't work as well if you wait till after puberty.
But tons of these kids are growing up to regret transitioning.
That's only because their friends and family won't accept them for who they are.
Eventually, cosmetic surgery is going to be as harmless as wardrobe changes.
Well, until that's true, children have a way better chance of living a good life if they accept the gender they've been assigned at birth.
Just raise the kids gender neutral and let them decide their own identity as they grow up.
But part of parenting is helping your child develop an identity that will be welcomed by the community.
That's why trans activists are creating a community that welcomes people for who they are.
Then why is there so much emphasis on changing how you look?
We want our body to express our true self.
It's their choice.
They're
free.
We're too complex to be fully encapsulated by a gender. Gender, like all identities, aren't expressions of our uniqueness. They're the limiters we put on our uniqueness to make us easier to interact with. You, the parent, you, the professional, and you, the cisgendered person, are all costumes that you wear to get something specific from the world around you. But the costumes we get in childhood don't always fit quite right. They get us ignored, laughed at, or picked on, forcing us to flee from our family to another city, flee from social life to the internet, or flee from our body to a new one, all to find a place where we are accepted. We have every right to define our gender and negotiate its meaning to society, but even if we're accepted as the man, woman, or non-binary person we express ourselves to be, we'll never truly accept ourselves until we realize that we aren't the costumes we wear, but rather the undefinable complexity beneath them.